All right, everyone. If you're just joining us, today we have Arno. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to do a quick introduction, just introduce ourselves, the facilitators of the club, and then we can get started with any questions we have. Arno, if you want to take the stage after that and just tell a little bit about yourself and about MLS for anyone who's new to it. So I'm Nick.
I am Vanessa. I have been in MLS since my first quarter.
Hey guys, my name's Oscar. I'm in 13th quarter.
My name is Tatiana. Pretty sure I know most of you. I am currently quarter 7, 8, 9, maybe, mainly 8.
We would love you to take the stage, Arno.
The first thing I want to say to the facilitator is I really, really appreciate you for what you're doing, for stepping up, because it keeps the momentum going, it keeps the process going, and in many ways, it validates the lives of all the people that have come before me and the people of my generation that have put so much of their time and energy and life into growing the profession, improving the profession. I'm Arno. Most people know me by my first name. I'm not in any quarter anymore. I graduated in 1973. Not in 1973. I went to school in 1973 and graduated in 1978. So I've been at it for a long time. So I want to share a little bit about MLS for those of you that may be new to it. It came about in a very intuitive way for me. My body is extremely sensitive. I'm a very perceptive, intuitive person. So when I would get adjusted by other chiropractors, I felt that I was being violated, that it was brutal, that it was forceful, that it was intrusive on my system. And in spite of the fact that I wanted to get checked and adjusted if needed, it really caused me to think, do I want to keep receiving this type of care? And adjusting to me came very naturally when I first stumbled into chiropractic. I observed my chiropractor in Paris, France, adjusting, and it was beautiful. And intuitively, I picked it up. So when I came to Sherman, quickly, I was able to deliver adjustments that were really great. And then when I went into practice, I refined and refined and refined more and more what I was doing. At some point, people would be in my practice and say, I go to another chiropractor from time to time when I spend my vacation in Florida. I'm not receiving the type of care you're giving. Or I have sent my family to chiropractors in another states, an uncle, an aunt, a grandparents, whatever, and they are not having the type of comments that we could give to your practice and to you. So obviously that caused me to reflect on it. And then because I was on the East Coast and I would speak philosophy on many different campuses, I would speak at Life University, I would speak at New York Chiropractic College, I would speak at the Adio Institute of Chiropractic in Philadelphia, I would speak at Sherman. So during the school breaks, students will come to my office and come to observe me. So what took place, they start saying, can you teach us how you adjust? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could do that. But it took me a while to break down all of the ingredients of something that I was doing completely intuitively, completely naturally. So it took me years. By the time most of you stepped into MLS, we had broken down every single ingredient and steps involved in a masterful adjustment. So that's what MLS is all about, and that's how it came about. That adjusting is the most important thing that you can bring to the table, to your office. It's your trade. And in my opinion, and in my observation, due to many different factors, the curriculum does not give the school an opportunity to teach the student to become masters in adjusting and to engage in a professional training. I always say this, that we graduate from a professional school. So if we're a professional martial artist, a professional football player, baseball player, pianist, violinist, how much would we train? How much would we practice? What would be our schooling to become a professional in those skills. And that's very much what I wanted to bring to the table in MLS, to grow and develop a professional training and a professional mindset. The other thing that you need to know about MLS, if you haven't been there, it is not a technique. It is not just an approach to adjusting. It is an approach to adjusting that you can apply to any other adjusting so-called technique. But beyond this, it incorporates the philosophy, the practical communication skills in practice, the reality of practice. It's a personal growth and development seminar. And we uphold high level of integrity. We have very strong values that we honor and promote at MLS and that we live by. So that gives you somewhat of a background of what is involved. And I welcome any question.
Hey, Arno. My name is Matt, and I had a question regarding, so your training began at Sherman, and that was an upper cervical school. So what, I guess, what would be the role that upper cervical played in you having this more global vision of the spine and adjusting?
Okay, so this is a great question, because one thing that I got out of Sherman, I was in the pioneer class, I was in the first class, and as you know, it was an upper cervical school, and the drills and the training that we received was really intense. So already it gave me, interesting. We are really training hard in that one specific approach, which is upper cervical. As far as the reality of practice, for me, I apply upper cervical. This is the last thing that I checked when I checked the spine. I checked everything else, and at the end, it's that if it needs to be adjusted, that's the last part that I adjust. The second thing is, if anyone comes in, and I had mostly a well-being practice, so it was not the common thing. But if anyone comes in with a known pathology, with a known disease, with an active pathology, I would do upper cervical first. Toggle recall, not on a dropped piece, solid headpiece. And if you have ever been adjusted by me, Atlas axis solid headpiece, you will feel the bone move. You will hear the full audible release in a toggle recall. So I would apply this because I found that it was the most effective in doing whatever it does, because we are still in a profession learning and discovering and uncovering what is taking place when we adjust the spine. But I've noticed from an experience point of view that it resets the physiology of the person in most situations and create very positive outcome. And I want to be clear that I did not ever practice with the intention of treating symptoms. I practiced with the sole intention of clearing the neurospinal system, of opening the channel between brain and body, of freeing life force in the body. That was my sole intention. So upper cervical is a very big part and extremely important part of adjusting and clearing the neurospinal system. What else to say about upper cervical? It's awesome. And I'll give you a very quick story, which is really funny, which illustrates the power of upper cervical. I had this woman named Cindy that would come to my office regularly to get checked and adjusted if needed. And one day, she always came at the end of the morning. And I think I've shared that story from time to time at different seminars. But she would come at the end of the morning. And one day, it was about 12:45. She comes in, she sits in the waiting room, and she goes into the adjusting room. So I don't know what's happening in the waiting room. And she seems down, and I say, what's going on? You seem like somewhat down. She said, yeah, I have to put my cat to sleep. He has feline leukemia. So I adjusted her, checked her, adjusted her. And then suddenly it came to me like, she's going to put the cat to sleep. Why don't I give it a shot? So I said, Cindy, would you be open for me to adjust the cat? And she goes like, of course, anything. I mean, I'm going to put him to sleep. So I took the cat out of the box and it was limp. You know, like when a cat is limp, is lifeless, and let you carry it. So the body goes up and down like this. And I brought the cat and I put the cat on a side posture adjusting table. And I had never seen the anatomy of a cat. I had never adjusted a cat. I went right off the occiput and with one finger, got myself set up, boom, toggle recall. The cat went like this and took off like a bat out of hell, out of the adjusting room, into another adjusting room, into the bathroom, and climbed the wall above the toilet seat. Long story short, that cat never went to the vet, and that was the last day of so-called fetal leukemia. So I have no clue as to what took place in that cat, whether it scared the hell out of the cat, reset its physiology, but she didn't put him to sleep, and that was the end of the story. So even in those circumstances, with knowing nothing about the spine of a cat or the physiology of a cat, upper cervical came true for me. So that was always something that I kept in the back of my mind.
Arno, you mentioned that adjusting came very naturally to you.
Correct.
And one of the things that you just mentioned as well is something that really just stuck out to me was that you never adjusted to treat symptoms, but you adjusted to essentially to treat to what's it called, work with the nervous system, to align the nervous system. What are some of the steps that you took, or did that also come naturally to adjust with a clear intention of what you were doing?
Okay, this is a profound question, and I hope everybody can really, really settle into that and hear it deeply. At Sherman, the depths of the philosophies that we were taught were so strong that when we came out of Sherman as students, we were rock solid. I mean, absolutely rock solid in the philosophy. It is clear to me that, yes, chiropractic may have positive symptomatic outcome and symptomatic resolution, but the purpose of the adjustment was never to treat symptoms. It was strictly to clear subluxation and to rephrase it, to open up and clear the neurospinal system so that the power that animates the body, which is life force, which is light, which is spirit in the body, can flow more freely throughout the neurospinal system, which is the main pipeline, the main conduct for the life force to travel into the body. So that was clear to me, and I never wavered from it. It didn't matter if people said, I have a headache or a backache or a stomachache or I have allergies. Let me check you. Let me clear your neurospinal system, because having an open, clear neurospinal system to the best of the abilities that I can deliver is a positive for your physiology. It's a positive for a human being. So that's a clear picture. Now, in your question, Oscar, in school, they teach you, tell me about your symptom. Let's monitor the symptoms. And that is because they want you to be prepared to handle insurance company and to be able to bill with insurance company. We were not interested in that at Sherman. Mostly cash practice, and I had a cash practice in Pennsylvania. I had a cash practice in Colorado. However, inherent to that conversation of monitoring symptoms and asking people about their symptoms, right there, you're already off the mark in chiropractic. Because the moment that you come in, say, Oscar, you're coming to see me, and I say, so tell me about your aches and pain. Tell me about your symptoms. What is it suggesting to you as a public, not as a chiropractic student, but as a public, the general public? It is suggesting that I'm treating symptoms. They come into an office of a health practitioner, which they view as a doctor. And what is a doctor for the public in general? A person that treats symptoms, sickness, and disease. That's what it is. Now the question is, does one need to have symptoms, sickness, or disease to receive chiropractic care? The answer clearly is no. I could rephrase it differently. Does one need to have symptoms, sickness, or disease to have great nutrition if I was a nutritionist? The answer is no. You don't have to have symptoms to have great nutrition. Does one need symptoms, sickness, and disease to go see a dentist for dental hygiene? No. You can have cancer and you can be an athlete feeling extremely vital and having peak performance. So by the same token, when you understand that chiropractic is a positive for human physiology, regardless of your symptomatology, regardless of the presence or absence of symptoms, then now you are more anchored already in your intention and your purpose in delivering an adjustment. So the third component of that question, Oscar, is the moment that you have a symptomatic resolution intent, you collapse the field of all possibility. If you are clear that the only thing you are doing for that person is to open up the channel for the life force to flow between brain and body, to facilitate body function, to facilitate physiology, as long as you stay there, anything is possible for that person. But in order to treat symptom, you would have to make a diagnosis. And the moment that you make a diagnosis, you have projected your consciousness on the physiology of that person. And there is a cosmology in practice where the practitioner has a higher pull than the recipient. So in that cosmology, when you do a diagnosis, you basically imprinting with your consciousness and changing the reality of the field. And in that process, this is very metaphysical, but in that process, you collapse the possibility that are infinite. And you collapse the possibility of even miracle happening, so-called miracle. So it is very important to have a solid practice, to have a high volume practice, a highly successful practice, to be so deeply anchored in your principle that you never waver and that you do the one thing that you do as a professional with excellence. And that is to clear, to the best of your ability, the neurospinal system. Any other question? Don't be shy, even things that you feel like, I'm not in agreement with this or whatever, just fire up.
Arno, you talked about having that unwavering purpose and the importance of that. What did you go about as a student to maintain that unwavering purpose and stay so grounded in the philosophy, even when something like what's happening today, family, friends, everything around you is just like coming like a wave? What did you do to just stand there in front of the wave and just let it hit you as you still stand there? What do you recommend that you do to students?
Thank you for that question. The challenge with answering that question is the context of when I went to school is very different than the context that you guys have now. So, first of all, Sherman College, 1973, was a deep, deep South. And when they saw in that school that was created, Sherman College, people coming from all over the United States and from few other countries of the world in the first class, we were immediately segregated and became parrot to that community. So there was nothing for us to do but to be in chiropractic and do chiropractic. I always refer to the thing that the best movie in town in Spartanburg, South Carolina in 1973 was Chainsaw Massacre or The Last Motel Out of Town. That gives you a sense of what kind of movie and entertainment was available to us. So we immerse ourselves 24/7, 365 for 4 years into chiropractic. So we had a different context than you. If I were to do it today in the context of your environment with being bombarded, let me put this too. My education was 98% chiropractic and 2% medical as far as the curriculum. Your education today at Life University, even though it's supposedly a principal school, because of the requirement by the CC, the Council on Chiropractic Education, your education is mostly medical and a small percentage chiropractic. So you're at a great disadvantage. This is why I always recommend to build for yourself a parallel curriculum. The parallel curriculum means to set times every day to be on your chiropractic, whether it's a philosophy, the science of the art. I know it's easier said than done. So in your context today, the first thing that I would do is commit to never watch TV, to disconnect or to keep social media to a very, very minimum, and have a scheduled time for social media and nothing else. And then carve out for yourself 30 minutes, 1 hour a day, on weekend maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, strictly for chiropractic, to work on your philosophy, on your communication, on your skills, adjusting skills. That would be my recommendation. And then to engage into clubs on campus that are right on chiropractic, nothing else, that are pure chiropractic. That will be my recommendation. And I can see the challenge, Nick. I can see the challenge of this, because in modern life, you're bombarded with messages on your phone, you're bombarded with messages on your email. So how do you keep that at bay and not get distracted all the time? That requires discipline. And if there is one thing that we teach at MLS, is self-discipline through dedication and commitment. Not the discipline by beating you up, but the discipline by reminding people what is it that they want. And my question is always, what kind of chiropractor do you want to become? And you today, whether in first quarter or 10th quarter or 13th quarter or 7th quarter, doesn't matter. You need to answer that question for yourself. Do you want to be an average chiropractor, a mediocre chiropractor, a poor chiropractor, a great chiropractor, a good chiropractor, an exceptional chiropractor, an extraordinary chiropractor? What do you choose to become? Once you have made that choice, self-discipline and discipline is reminding yourself, remembering for yourself what you want. So maybe once you make that choice, maybe you want to put a big poster in your bathroom or in your bedroom. I am becoming, or I seek to be, an extraordinary chiropractor. And that will give you the fortitude and the discipline and the courage, the dedication, the commitment to go about your parallel curriculum and to engage in clubs on campus. But I recognize the challenge in today's world, in today's context.
First of all, thank you for spending the time with us, Arno. It's truly an honor. I know you just mentioned that dedication and consistency of really becoming principled and in the foundation of who we want to become. During your practice, your time in practice, and now being out of practice, what is one thing that you've always held on to that kept you going during the long days and those long nights of studying, or of just serving all day and all night, that really kept you grounded and kept you working through that exhaustion or that burnout?
Okay, so this is a very important question, Ian, and I'm glad you asked. At Sherman, we were giving strong foundation. However, at some point during those strong foundation, for example, definition of universal intelligence. What is universal intelligence? Definition of innate intelligence. What is it? Life force. What is it? The triune of life. I could go on and on and on. All of that as a student is very much received as an intellectual understanding. Sometimes it goes a little bit deeper. You feel like, yeah, I kind of get this, it's part of me, or I understand it. But there is a point in your journey where you have to go so deep into it that you realize that nothing was taught to you, that there is nothing new that they teach you, they taught you, that it unveiled or revealed something that always you knew intuitively as a human being. When you get to that place, you have what I refer to as you have come home to yourself. So at that point, you don't have to remember the philosophy. The philosophy will come out of you naturally with your own words, with your own imagery, your own metaphors, your own parable, your own stories, your own linguistic. It will be yours that emerge from within you, not a regurgitation of what Wade or Reggie Gold or myself or somebody else has, Sid William has said, but as something that comes out of your being, out of the core of your being. Once you have gotten there, you are home to yourself. That's one element. The second element, you have to connect with a vision. So some people's vision is, I'm going to have a beautiful practice. Some people's vision are, I'm going to have a beautiful practice and impact my community. Some people's vision are, I'm going to have a beautiful practice, impact my community, and be a force to reckon with within chiropractic. Then it goes to the next level. I want to have an impact on consciousness. So what sustained me, Ian, is that not only I had made that journey in school with the philosophy to come home to myself, but I also stepped into practice with a huge vision to elevate human consciousness in matter of life, health, healing, wellness, and well-being. And that vision never left me. It doesn't matter if somebody came in with a hot low back, herniated disc, or an athlete that said, I heard that you can fine-tune the body for better performance. It did not matter. I still seeked to elevate their consciousness in relationship to understanding the dynamics of life, the laws of life, what is health, the laws that govern health, what is true healing in the body, and the nature of symptoms, the understanding of sickness and disease. All of this is a global understanding that I was committed to impart on the public. So one thing that I did is give talks every 2 weeks on a regular basis. Now, you will run, Ian, in many chiropractors in your journey that say, go to this seminar, go to this seminar. It's all good. Go do it. But the one thing that I want to make you cautious of is don't get hooked up to be a follower and to have the need to go there to recharge yourself. If you have the need to go there to recharge yourself, something is still lacking within. Now, that does not mean, and I want to be sure that you understand, everybody understands this clearly, it doesn't mean that you don't go to the seminar. But now you go there to give, to contribute, to have community, to network with people. But it is not your safety floating buoy that rescue you every 3 months or every 6 months, because you have already come home to yourself. So it doesn't matter if you never go back to that seminar ever in your lifetime, you'll still sustain the same passion because you have a great vision and you have come home to yourself. And that's a great distinction. I see many people that became enslaved every 6 months. I got to go to this seminar, man. I got to recharge my battery. I got to go to this seminar to recharge my battery. Whereas you can say, I'm going to that seminar to have community, to meet my friends, to contribute, to give of myself. You see the distinction? So that's how you sustain yourself. Great vision. And the larger the vision, the more fuel you have, the more energy you have. And then first and foremost, do the work in understanding the principle and the philosophy to come home to yourself. And that means that any question that come your way, it doesn't matter what the question is, will come in, touch that plate inside yourself. where truth resides. And then from that emerge the response.
I do have a question. So, over winter break, I was driving out west. I had a long time and went down listening to the podcast you have and stuff, and talked about going into our community and seeing our physical therapists, our massage therapists, and really educating them as well. Um, now, I know you didn't dive too deep into like educating them on what, but as you say that community, are you saying to educate them like the principles or just the way of life and how we see it and approach it?
So Stephen, I, I don't know if it was a podcast that you heard me say this or somebody else say this.
It was you, yeah.
Okay. And I think it may be miscommunicated on my part or maybe misreceived on your part. I don't know which one. But I've never was a proponent of going into somebody's office and say, "Hi, Stephen, I understand you're a physical therapist. I'm a chiropractor. Let me tell you what chiropractic is about." That is a killing relationship approach. What I mentioned is be the center of the wheel. And then all of the spokes of the wheel are physical therapists, nutritionists, acupuncturists, massage therapy, body worker, medical doctor, pediatrician, and so on. And then introduce yourself to them and become interested in them. I want to know, Stephen, what do you do as a physical therapist? Where did you go to school? Do you have a family? Do you have children? How long have you been in practice? Be interested in them. And if they are never interested in you, so be it. But my observation is when you are interested in them, at some point, Stephen, you would say, "So Arno, what is it that you do?" And now I have an opportunity to share what I do without being pushing it on them, without being militant. There is an opening. So that's what I communicated, that you are the center of the wheel. And this is important, Stephen, because watch this. So my sole purpose is to clear the neurospinal system. I don't treat symptoms. So says that Turner that is on the call here comes to me and he said, "Hey doc, I have shoulder pain. Can you look at my shoulder?" And I say, "Vincent, actually it's Vincent or Turner Vincent. Vincent, your first name, right? Vincent, that's your first name?"
Turner's my first name. It's just confusing.
Okay. So I said, "Turner, I understand you have shoulder pain. Let me check you." I check him. And then if 3 or 4 visits in a row, every time he comes in, he say, "Hey, man, I have shoulder pain. Can you look at it?" I'll still say, "Let me check you." And then at that point, I'll say, "Turner, you have complained or talked to me about your shoulder pain. I have a wonderful physical therapist that I send people to. And I think you may want to go see somebody, or you may want to go see an orthopedic surgeon." Because in my mind, Stephen, no matter what people ask me, my internal response is, "I understand you have shoulder pain. I'm a dentist. Open up your mouth. Let me look at your teeth." That's my specialty, dentistry. My specialty is the neurospinal system and nothing else. You understand the distinction? So that's my internal dialogue inside. That's my groundedness, my anchoring. No matter what he asks, "Oh, I have an eye problem. Can you look at it?" "I'm sorry, I'm a dentist. Let me look at your mouth." Or you can go deeper and go, no matter what they say, it's like, "I have hemorrhoid. I understand you have hemorrhoid. It must be very uncomfortable. Open your mouth. I'm a dentist." You get it? You stay on your track. I have never, in 40 years of practice, lost a single client because I did not chase their symptom or look at their symptom. "Oh, I have pain in my wrist. Can you look at it?" "Lay down. Let me check you." If they keep talking about it, I'll say, "I'll send you to somebody in my referral wheel," not for them to go there and they never come back to me. I'll send you, here is a great physical therapist, a great orthopedist. I'll see you in 2 weeks for your regular checkup. You understand? It's so simple. So simple. And another thing on this, Stephen, and everybody else, for that matter, when the tendency of most of the public is to talk about their symptoms, until you grow it for yourself through education, through the talks that you give every 2 weeks, or if you do Zoom call or video, whatever mean you have today. For me, it was regular talks every 2 weeks, not a lecture. Talks on cornerstone, building block of chiropractic philosophy. Talks that people could take home for themselves and felt I wasn't sold anything. I was imparted something. I was given some knowledge was imparted to me. So if you do that, I don't know where I was going with that, but if you do that, you are grounded and you will not lose people because you have conveyed to them an understanding of the positive impact of chiropractic care on their being, on their physiology, on their health, on their healing. As a result, yes, they may need to have shoulder surgery. It's possible. But it's not my field of expertise. My field of expertise is the neurospinal system. And that makes it very simple in practice. It's very clear. The field is not muddy, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. You definitely cleared it up. It was just miscommunication on my end necessarily of I get exactly what you're saying. It was just me thinking of it a different way. And that helped a lot. That's awesome. Thank you.
Remember that. I'm a dentist. I'm not looking at your hemorrhoid or your shoulder blade or your wrist. I'm looking at your mouth. I'm a chiropractor. I'm looking at your neurospinal system. People will really congregate and be attracted when you're rock solid in your foundation. You're wishy-washy. You're all over the place. You're being pulled this way, that way, by whatever they say. You're all over the place. Your practice implodes.
I have a question.
Tati, you got
Yeah. Sorry, Tatiana.
Have you ever just been sitting at a coffee shop and you take out your headphones and you start eavesdropping on a conversation and they are just shit talking chiropractic so hard and you try and mind your own business and you just couldn't help but interject?
I've seen it on airplane,
Oh yeah?
sitting through a whole flight. Yeah.
How do you even go about that? Because I feel like it's a part of our duty to not to educate, but to offer another perspective. They're totally entitled to theirs and to continue whatever they want. But, you know.
I totally get it, Tatiana. The first thing is, as a community and as a profession, we have to recognize that as a whole, there is exception within that community and profession. We have done a horrible job at promoting our profession for what it is.
Absolutely.
So no wonder the public is confused. The second thing is, until we start to correct the course and the skill level of our profession and the confusion within our profession, the profession out there is really not very good, to tell you the truth. It's pretty sad what goes on out there. So no wonder the public have, or the media, or the government have a very strange perception of our profession. But anytime that the media, the public, or the government, or the insurance company truly stumble into chiropractors that practice chiropractic and chiropractic only, they can put a hole in it. They're amazed by it. Suddenly you become the champion, the only expert in the room. So to go back to your question, Tatiana, is that we all bear a responsibility in the way the public view our profession. And their view is not actually distorted. It's an accurate view of, as a global thing, what the profession is putting out. Now, in this situation in a coffee shop, if you stumble into that situation, it will be unwise to go up to the table and then, hey, you guys, I've heard you talk about this, and I think you guys are all wrong, and let me tell you what chiropractic is. That sounds like somebody that want to hammer them down with and teaching them. It could be, if there is an opening, to connect with them and say, hey, I've heard this. You guys seem to have a really interesting conversation. Can I join you? Hi, my name is Tatiana. Where are you guys from? First, establish human rapport. And at some point, ask the question, so what do you really know about chiropractic? Rather than let me tell you about chiropractic. Okay? But in most situations, Tatiana, you're going to beat yourself against the wall. You're going to get a lot of hostility going, and you're going to be walked away feeling thrown out, rejected, ridiculed, and whatnot. Not the place. Even if there is no denigrating communication and conversation about chiropractic, if you hear somebody goes like, in the checkout counter, like, oh man, I have a lot of problem, or I have this, rather than saying, hi, I'm a chiropractor, let me tell you what I can do for you. To just say, if you seem to be in a lot of discomfort and pain, here's my card. I would love to help you. That's it. Nothing else. Do not, in my world, and I'm not saying you have to abide by my world, or I'm saying in my world, you are better off not saying anything but, I would love to help you. I can see you are in distress.
Like that.
Once they are into your office and have entered your world, now that's another story. Because now they are open, they are receptive, they are ready to go. They are willing. Being a chiropractor crusader on the street all the time, no. Now I'll tell you another alternative, which is a friend of mine did that, Claude Lessard. When he opened his practice, he walked around the town constantly with a spine in his hand or over his back. And people will ask him, what is that? What is this? And it created, out of curiosity, it created an opening for him to share why he had a spine and he was walking around with a spine and explain chiropractic. So that's a great avenue. If you don't want to have a spine, carry a large occipital C1, C2, C3 model, which I think is even better than a spine. Because all you do is you go like, you see this, you see this, you see what happened when I do this, what happened to the light when I do this, right? And then you go, do you know that all of the experts that kill people professionally address the body right here? And then if you're sarcastic, you say, that's what I do. And then you say, no, I address the body here to release life, not to terminate life. People get it. Or you do, put your finger in there, the occipital C1, and then you move the vertebrae. You feel the compression? That's what happened to your spinal cord. Really? Yeah. What do you mean? That's what happened to my spinal cord? Yeah. Have you ever heard of Christopher Reeve? Superman? Yeah. Paralyzed from the neck down, kidney function failed, digestive function failed, immune function failed, had to be on life support on a respirator because the respiratory function failed. So people get it. It's less cumbersome than having a spine. You carry the occipital C1, C2, C3 model around with you. People will ask you questions.
I just love that answer that you just gave to Stephen and then reciprocated to Tatiana. I wrote it down. We don't sell, we impart knowledge.
That's
correct. Like, what a simple concept. That's so exciting.
Yeah. And and beyond this, a lot of chiropractors want like, so I have this study from the University of Minnesota that was done in 1996 telling me that this is happening and this is happening. And let me pull this study here from the Journal of New England of Medicine. People are asleep. And the problem is, those studies, some people need them because of the way that they process information. But that's not what you want to do in a talk. That's what you want to do at the front desk when you identify that Turner is a very heady guy and he needs that study. Hey, read this, take it home. Or information is information. And those studies, I guarantee you, will be disproved by another study from the University of California or Michigan. There is always a study that will disprove another study. Knowledge, wisdom stands the test of time. It's always consistent. So you impart knowledge and wisdom. First, knowledge and wisdom will come out of your experience over years of applying that knowledge in practice. That's a journey.
Very cool. And I also loved what you said about when you see somebody and they're in pain, instead of saying, "Hi, I'm a chiropractor," just say, "Hi, like, here's my card. I would love to help you." So then they don't have whatever things they thought chiropractic was start to interfere with that open window. And it's kind of like something Wade always talks about in his boot camp is when somebody asks, like, "Hi, what do you do?" Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a chiropractor," say, like, "I'm a facilitator of love and light," or something. And they're like, "Huh?" Like, get their interest, pique their interest, instead of giving them something that they can kind of contort into whatever they have beliefs about prior.
Yeah. I had a card that had just my signature. Then you open it. It was a V card, so it's shaped like this. It's fold. On the front was a signature, and you open it up. It has my address, phone number, email, and on this panel here, it said a humanitarian, evolutionary approach to life and health. It didn't say a word about chiropractic. Because
Super cool.
what I learned, and this is why I created the Cafe of Life model down the line, because I wanted to be able to switch the mindset of people, because I've noticed, like you did, Tatiana, the moment that I say, "Oh, I'm a doctor of chiropractic," "Oh, I've heard one of those," "Oh, I've been to one of those," "Oh, you're a back doctor," "Oh, you're a quack," "Oh, this." So I wanted to reframe. And my card was so different, very good texture of paper, very beautifully made. And then it could sit on a desk like this. It's just my signature on the front. That's it. And every time I gave that card, people would pick it up and say, "Wow, that's a very unusual card." And then they would open it up and go, "An evolutionary, revolutionary approach to life and health. What is it that you do?" Bingo. I've piqued their curiosity and I'm ready to answer. So, yeah, there's a lot of different ways of approaching the beast.
Arno, what you just said there about the I've been to a chiropractor before. I've had that conversation with quite a few people, and they usually end it with, "And I walked away feeling worse."
Yep.
How do you handle that's something I've heard a lot. I mean, I got it from my uncle over Christmas. He was like, "Yeah, I went to see a chiropractor. I was having sciatic pain," and he was like, "I walked out of there feeling so much worse."
Yep.
How do you handle that with the MLS approach so that they do try it again and see someone who's not gonna
Yep.
jack them up?
Totally. The first thing you want to do is never invalidate that. You want to validate it. And I would say, I understand that some people go to chiropractor and they get a lot worse. And I also understand that people go to the hospital, have surgery, and die from it. I understand that people go to medical doctor, take a drug, and have an allergic reaction for it. Does that mean that they abandon medicine? No. The second thing so already that shifted something. And the second thing that I would say is this. I would say you have to understand that there is a distinction between suppressing symptom and natural healing. Medicine is about suppressing symptoms. And indeed, there is side effect frequently, whether they're being tangible or not, they're there. And sometimes those side effects are dramatic, anaphylactic reaction, people die from them, or have serious complication or infections. In chiropractic, we deal with natural healing. And in order to heal something, you first must feel it. You cannot heal what you do not feel. So chiropractic is not about feeling less, it's about feeling more. And when the nervous system is open and open up, there is greater perception, greater sensitivity. And sometimes, in some people, they perceive more pain. It doesn't mean they're getting worse. As they perceive more pain, the body, with its own wisdom, start to respond. The healing process takes shapes. And then over time, we see a change in the physiology and the progression of the healing process. That conversation, that understanding about the nature of natural healing, of biological healing, is essential in your practice to teach the public. Otherwise, you have exactly what Tatiana said. Oh, I got adjusted, I got a lot worse. And I'm not saying that sometimes a violent adjustment can damage people, absolutely. But in many instances, a beautiful honoring adjustment can create a lot more pain in the body at first. Yeah.
Hey, Arno. So I wanted to first say thank you for answering my first question. We got Dr. Wade here. We got Miss Kim here. I had a second question then. So you spoke about having total clarity with it's about freeing the neurospinal system. And let's use that example. Somebody comes in with that shoulder pain, like you talked about, and they say, Arno, can you help me with my shoulder? What does your conversation sound like so that you're both truthful and congruent about what you're doing? And because we talked about the symptoms and all that. So what's that conversation look like?
Okay, so Matthew, first, because I have it already in my head, but first I'm going to ask you, so you're a chiropractor.
Yes.
You're clear that this is your thing, to clear the neurospinal system. I come in and I have like, can you help me with my shoulder? How do you answer it?
I like that. So the way I would answer it is, hey, Arno, thank you for sharing that with me about your shoulder. And what we do here at my office is we take care of you so that your nervous system can adapt the best it possibly can. So we clear it from any interference, and that's going to help you with that shoulder, just like it's going to help you with the rest of your life.
Okay. Is that true or not?
Yeah.
Do you know for sure? Do you know for sure that you can help that shoulder?
No, I don't.
Okay, so then you can't say that.
Good point.
So now, Matthew, I'm gonna connect with you so that everybody can see this from a coaching perspective.
Okay.
I would not, if you said to me, I have shoulder pain, can you help me with my shoulder? I wouldn't even go into, hey, thank you so much, Matthew, for sharing that you have shoulder pain. That's like a politically correct kind of BS, wanting to be kind, wanting to be sweet type of person. Okay.
Right.
And after a while, if you do a lot of that, people want to vomit. Right. So yeah. I would say, I understand you have shoulder pain. And let me ask you this. When you cut a finger with a knife, how does it heal? So most people will say, well, over time it forms a scab and all this. They say, yeah. So to be more scientific, what happened is the damaged cell are replaced by new cell, and then those cell dies, they're replaced by new one, and then they die, they're replaced by new one, and over time the cut sealed itself, right? Mm-hmm. And then did you notice that when you have the scab, it becomes itchy? There is an itch. Every time you have a scab, there is a point in the healing process that it itch. So you can see that there is steps to the healing process. But the bottom line is that healing takes place with damaged cells or sick cells dying and replaced by new one. Sick cell and damaged cell will never, ever, ever heal. They have to die and be replaced by new one. So if they go like, what are you talking about? I go, did you ever see your house plant? Did you ever see a brown leaf turning green? No, never. It falls off and a new one comes in. So they get that part. And at that point, I said, how does the body create new cells? Does a corpse create new cell? No. Life force create new cells. So what we do in this office is we maximize the flow of life force so that the creation of cells can take place normally. Will it help your shoulder? I don't know. Obviously, if chiropractic did not get great outcome with people, the public wouldn't come to it. So it's possible that it will help your shoulder, but it may not. I don't know the amount of damage in your shoulder. I don't know what's going on in your shoulder, but your body does. Let me check you.
Yes.
Now, in that conversation, I don't care if you're an MD or an orthopedist or a scientist or a Princeton graduate. There is no hole in that conversation. There is nothing that they can put a hole into. So from a coaching perspective, Matthew, when you answer a question, formulate it, and then ask yourself, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And if you can narrow your answer to be concise, direct, and has no holes in it, you're in the game.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's great feedback. And I really like that you reverse the question on them by then asking further questions that explain the big idea without you having to just explain the big idea to them and they check out.
Yeah. It's important to not be dogmatic or militant, but to be knowledgeable. We have a lot of that, unfortunately, in our profession, of very dogmatic and militant people.
Right.
And it works to some degree, but it creates followers. It creates people that have given up their own personal power to that person. They used to give it up to an MD, now they're giving it up to a chiropractor. I'm all into imparting people with knowledge and wisdom so that it can set them free. I don't want them to be dependent on me. I want them to come home to themselves. So it's very different. In your practice, you got to ask yourself after a while, do I have people that depend on me, that are following me, that are supporting me, or do I have a constituency? Very, very different.
Right.
It's a beautiful, beautiful profession we have. It is so challenging. It demands so many skills, communication skill, psychological skill, technical skill, philosophical skill, knowledge. But that's the juice of it, Anything else?
I just want to say, at some point every single day, I think since I entered probably sixth quarter, and really just started coming to MLS Club more consistently, every day I've said to myself, holy shit, what an amazing opportunity and just downright cool thing it is to become a chiropractor. And this is just propelling that. So thank you again.
Wow. Thanks, BJ Palmer, Didi Palmer, all the people that came before me. I mean, it's an amazing profession. And that's the beauty of it, right? That's the joy of it. But the sadness, the other side of the coin, the sadness is all the people in our profession that are not getting it, that are completely missing the boat. It's dreadful to them. I got to file for the insurance company. I got to go to my office. I can't wait for Friday. They see 10 people a day, 20 people a day. It's a doldrum. And then you go to other place. It's so alive. It's so beautiful, so joyful, full of love. The waiting room is bustling with people that are talking with one another. There is babies around, children. It's a joy. And then you leave at the end of the day, you have more energy than you had when you came in. So, yeah, you stay on the game and you really, really, really ground yourself in your principle and come home to yourself. You're going to have a beautiful life. I call it the endless vacation. I always did. It's the endless vacation. I mean, how can it get any better to do what we just do right now, right? I mean, isn't this like the juice right now? That's what it is every day in practice. But a lot of people miss the boat. Oh, first I got to do the business. I couldn't, Wade can tell you, I'm like a horrible business person. I mean, horrible, because it was never my interest. My interest was empowering, inspiring people, and my vision. And I trust that the universe will take care of me, and it has taken care of me really, 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 really well. So, but so many people put the business first, people second. Put your people first, your love of what you do first. The business will take care of yourself. Have common sense with the business. Simple system and common sense. End of the story. And I'll throw that out to you guys. Don't forget that. Gilles Lamarche is going to do another book on the business of chiropractic. And he asked me to do a chapter in it. So I did a chapter in it, and the chapter starts with, it's totally ironic that someone that is writing a book about business would ask me to write a chapter, because I have zero business knowledge. I've never taken a single course in it. I don't know anything about it. But here is my take and my experience. So when it comes out, read that chapter.
I have a question off of that book comment. It came up in conversation the other night. I think Tatiana was the one who said it, that very few chiropractic students actually read chiropractic books. So my question to that is, what are some of your favorite chiropractic books?
One of my favorite little booklet is a booklet that is issued at Sherman called My Message Analyze. And it encompasses the entire vision that BJ Palmer had for chiropractic. The second one that I've read over and over and over, and at the first glance, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, it's interesting. The second time around was like, I never really that up in my first reading. And it went on. And every time I read it, I picked up more and more and more depths to it. It's Fame and Fortune by BJ Palmer. Now you can read The Art of Chiropractic, The Bigness of the Filler Within. You can read what's called adjustment specific, subluxation specific, adjustment specific, I believe it was called. But I find a lot of BJ's writing. Oh, there's another one called Fight to Climb that is good. But in Fame and Fortune, because it was extract from talks that BJ did, because a lot of the green books, as we find out now, are not necessarily written by BJ. They were either co-author or given for somebody else to write, and then into it was some of his writings. But in Fame and Fortune, it's from many talks that he gave. And there is a lot of depth in it. But it doesn't show up at the first read. You have to keep reading it over and over and over. So who was this that had asked about the books? It was Vanessa. Vanessa, in defense of the student, you're in school, you have to study all that stuff for the board. You have to memorize all that. People are drained. They're filled up. So how do you read more chiropractic book? put it next to the toilet, and every time you go to the bathroom, commit to reading 5 minutes of it, or put it by the nightstand and commit in the morning or at night, read until you fall asleep. That's the only way to do it. You guys have so much on your plate. When we were at Sherman, the curriculum was different. So what we created with a friend of mine called Michael Frigiola, we created the B.J. Palmer Philosophy Research Committee. That's what it was called, B.J. Palmer Philosophy Research Committee. And we hang out, and I'm not shy of saying it, it was the 60s, at the end of the 60s, early 70s, everybody was smoking joints. So we would hang out after school, smoke joint, and discuss chiropractic philosophy and study chiropractic philosophy. It was awesome. But we would hang out and talk chiropractic for hours in the evenings. There was nothing else to do. On weekend, there was nothing to do in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Nothing. So, yeah, put it by the nightstand, put it by the toilet seat. Or have it on your phone, download it on your phone, and then click it. There's a guy that's doing a lot of the green books on digital format, and that's Haig John, Haig John. And connect with him and have the download in digital form in your. But I like the real book because you can underline, you can make notes, you can highlight things.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So you mentioned earlier, you said stay in the game or something along those lines. And I was just wondering, how do you know you're actually on the right track, per se?
Well, a few things. One is, as I mentioned, when you have come home to yourself, you know that you have touched a place inside yourself that is not a dogmatic place, that is not a fanatical place. It's a place where you can feel it, energetically, you can sense it, that when a question comes in, it bounces into something, a plate of almost emptiness inside, and then within few seconds, emerge a response. That's the first thing that tell me is my compass. I always say there is a liquid crystal oscillator that oscillates within every human being when they witness, they read, they hear, they speak truth. So that's one thing. The second thing is if throughout your day you can be so alive, so joyful, and so full of energy, then more likely you are very much on the right path. If you feel down, burdened, empty, depleted, more likely you are not on the right path. So, and the other thing, maybe is when I look at what you are asking, Ariana, is that if you are not looking for others or to others for validation as to where you're at in your path, more likely you're also walking your own truth.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And now before the call, I was talking with Wade and I was sharing, I'm in a very challenging situation right now in my life because I no longer practice and I have backed off from doing many seminars that I was doing all the time. So I feel that I'm in a completely different state of being most of the time. My conversation is not about chiropractic 24/7. So to me, this is a great joy to be able to do this. And I feel truly, when I say this, I feel truly grateful that Wade and you guys, a facilitator of MLS, invited me to do this because it will connect me with what I love so much. But when you are not practicing chiropractic, when you're in a community and I'm not on the road giving seminar, it's not like I can go around the neighborhood and say, hey, let me talk to you about chiropractic. Hey, do you want to talk to me about chiropractic? No. So I don't have a medium in the last 2.5, 3 years to express my love, to express my passion for this principle and this philosophy. So to me, doing this with you guys is an absolute gift. And when I say I'm truly grateful, I'm not saying like, hey guys, I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to everybody. No, I'm truly feeling deep gratitude inside that you are giving me the opportunity to share my very passion, my very love. So it's kind of awakening some things that has been kind of asleep for 2.5 years. I appreciate it.
I do have a question. Is with the growth along this path of, a lot of growth happens. Is how do I stay grounded in growth, or to recognize it and keep the growth and that momentum and not kind of get stagnant in that?
Okay, but right there in that question, Stephen, you answered it. Let me see if you can find it right there.
It's the stagnant of keeping with it.
It's part of the growth. The stagnation is part of the growth. Growth is not like this. It goes like this, a plateau, in digestion, ingestion, percolating, stagnation, and then sometimes it goes down a little bit, and then back up to a big growth spurt. Look at kids. It's not like they go like this. They go whoop, and then it stops, and then whoop, and then it stops, and then when we have reached physical growth, there is the internal growth as a human being. So it goes in phases, and it has ups and downs and plateaus and stagnation. Just be with it, accept it.
Kind of like your story where, yes, it feels so good to be on the top of the mountain, but sometimes you have to go down to the bottom where the learning happens and you're in the trenches, and it's not the most pleasant, but you need it. You need the duality, you need the yin and yang. And it's like, yes, feeling good feels good, but sometimes you need to feel the sad and you need to feel the fear and the pain, because that's how you grow. And it's Nick and I were having a conversation today as he drove me to the airport. Subluxation. People are like, oh, we have to sub the subluxation dragon, but it's not. Subluxation is it's a part of the yin and yang. Yes, it's wonderful to be subluxation free, but you have to feel a subluxation and you have to learn from that. Your body has to learn from that. It's not all bad. It's just a part of the growth.
Yeah. And Tatiana, in relationship to this, there was a time where subluxation was just what it was. And then 2 people in our profession start to create the subluxation degeneration phases and made subluxation a condition and a disease that and something bad, the silent killer, right? Something that we had to eradicate and fight. And I never resonated with that perspective. I always resonated with, let's open up the channel. Let's clear the pipeline. Let's clear the neurospinal system. Let's open up communication between brain and body. Very positive, rather than, oh, Tatiana, I find 5 subluxation in your body. We got to get rid of them. That's a very negative downward approach. The other approach demand a completely different conversation, but it's a very positive approach. Let's release the light, which is life force within you. Let's release the potential that is waiting to be awakened in you. That's a very positive conversation. That's very attractive to people. I'm not fighting something. The more you fight subluxation, the more there is going to be subluxation. But the more you focus your mind and your energy on opening up the channel, clearing up the communication system, the more you'll get zapped. Yeah. But as I said, in practice, that requires completely different communication. You know, once you go like, you see this X-ray here? Well, or look at this. You see how much there is compression here from the deviation? Oh, look at that. Oh man, look at the degeneration right here. That's a down spiraling conversation. And we know today there is no reliable relationship between the degree of spinal degeneration and the symptomatologies that people experience. Some people have perfectly beautiful spine and are in a lot of pain. Some people have a beautiful spine and have no pain. And some people have incredible amount of degeneration, have no pain, and vice versa. So there is no reliable correlation between the two. So why would I want to go there? And this is not from my perspective, this is from the medical perspective. We know there is no correlation. So let's talk about opening up the channel, releasing the potential, releasing what's positive, the well, the source of life in the body. That's very attractive to people.
When you are in practice and you were in, the peak of your just vitalistic outflow, what were, some things, or did you find that you had a nice balance of chiropractic and extra life that was totally removed from the chiropractic side of things?
Yeah. So great question. First of all, for me, nothing was ever removed from chiropractic because it's a philosophy of life. So it permeated all aspects of my life. However, did I quote chiropractic nonstop like this? No. I have my children, okay, married for 40 years, 2 children, and I did not ever impose anything on my children as far as chiropractic. I believed in living by example and through the field that they will pick up. And as you may know, my son is now a chiropractor in Barcelona, Spain, in spite of the fact that I highly discourage him to do that. When he said, I want to become a chiropractor, I said, boo, the state of our profession today, it may not be what you want to do. And I would not encourage you to do this because I wanted to make sure that he wanted to do it for himself, not to be like his dad. Okay. So but we never imposed anything. So to answer your question, Ian, yes, I took vacation. Every 3 months, I took 2 weeks. We'd go to the Caribbean or the Bahamas, go skiing in the winter. And that was a great recharging time. And what I noticed is the dominant conversation and the dominant ways that I would communicate prior to my vacation did change when I returned from my vacation. It was renewed and revitalized, and new ways of communicating came about. So I stepped out of a pattern and I broke that pattern, and then a new pattern began to emerge. So I felt that it was very important to take that time off. I had other interests, friends in the community in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and then motorcycling, tennis, ping pong, swimming, hiking in Colorado, mountain biking, snowboarding, camping, exploring, traveling. I traveled to 49 different countries in the world. So I've been around the block and I've seen many different political system and social system throughout the world and felt and touched base with the community. And when I said traveling, I'm not saying like going to Holiday Inn or Hilton. No, when we travel, Jane and I, we connect with the people. We do more humanitarian traveling where we connect in small towns, small villages. We stay there. We connect with the people. So, yeah, many other interests, but chiropractic is always part of it because it's part of life. It's always present.
Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear, because some of the time when I go listen to the greats or the creators, it's it doesn't feel dogmatic, but it just feels so encompassed, and I don't want to sound vain or like I'm not in the profession for the right reasons, but I did really feel that one of the reasons I left wellness and health coaching was because I had no work-life balance, and I love to travel, and I love to climb and ski and hike, and I felt a little guilt of being like, well, one of the reasons I want to become a chiropractor is so I can do more of that. So that was really refreshing, and especially to hear that, every 3 months you take that reset and go, treat yourself and be with yourself and with your family and experience life and culture, and how it took you out of pattern to restart a new one. That was so fortifying and rejuvenating to hear. So thank you for that.
And Ian, to support you in this, there are chiropractors that are traveling chiropractors. They travel the world and adjust people as they travel the world. There is people that are sailors that love to sail, and when they come into port, they put a signage and they make chiropractic care available, and they charge for it. And in the sailors industry, sailing is very hard on the body, on the back, and all this. And sure enough, people will think chiropractor as a back doctor, but then you can turn that around. And then they stay in contact with that community. And when they are back in port, people come back. So there is many different ways of doing it. Especially, it wasn't the case during my time. We didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phone. You had to be glued to your line to wait for the phone to ring. So you couldn't go out and prospect in the community and make relationship. You had to be in your office waiting for a call. Very different. But today, anything is possible. Don't limit yourself.
Hello.
Lindsay, yes.
Hi. So this is more philosophical, but do you think that we are all supposed to be on the same page? Or is it part of duality that we're not supposed to be on the same page?
What do you mean by on the same page?
Going towards transcendence, having that inner growth and expanding so that we can really love how we're supposed to love, care how we're supposed to care, higher frequency things.
Okay, so to answer your question, Lindsay, there is a light side and a dark side of our being. And sometimes we operate from the light side, sometimes we operate from the dark side, unbeknown to us. Sometimes, if we have done enough work, we know our dark side, or we know most of our dark side, and we can catch ourselves operating from our dark side or our light side. When it comes to growth, it's inherent to nature. It's inherent to the universe. We are part of nature. It is inherent to human beings to grow. And when people are not willing to grow or have stopped growing, then basically they're already in some way dying, because they are no longer going with the normal process of life. Growth and transformation is a natural law of life. All of nature go through growth and transformation. We are not separate from nature. We are part of nature. So it is inherent to our being. Now, is growth being suppressed, canceled out, or eradicated in many big part of humanity? Absolutely. Absolutely. They are dead while living. But to answer your question, Lindsay, are we all supposed to be on the same page? If we were all supposed to be on the same page and we were all supposed to be growing, then everybody would be growing. So we have to accept what is. But it is nevertheless a natural law of life.
When we navigate school, you mentioned the difference between our curriculum and the curriculum that you had. I always find myself caught in this battle, and I see Dr. Wade poking his head over there. He knows what question I'm about to ask. I always find myself feeling like knowledge is power, and the more that I know and the more that I'm aware of is the more that I can speak to. And whether I serve from that place of knowing the differential diagnosis or not, um, I just find this almost contrast in serving from your heart and serving from a place of knowing. And I'm having that duality clash within me of like, what do I spend all of my time on? Going to just invest in myself and my hands and my art and my philosophy versus going to, get the balance of, do I get an A, do I get a B, do I get a C? Because I know what it takes time wise to hit those tiers. And I'm getting better at prioritizing what I value, but that's, I guess I don't know if I have a question versus that statement, and I'm just looking for your opinion.
Yeah, you just said it. What is it that you value? And I can tell you that over the years, I have watched a lot of people that graduated, whatever it's called, cum laude. I don't, never heard that term before, so I don't know what it is. And they're not doing so good in practice. And I see a lot of people that barely made it through, and they are booming in practice. So sometimes it's not always that way, but as a rule, you can graduate with A in everything, and what you think at that point is knowledge is just information that you have stored in your brain. And when you really acquire a lot more of that, you'll realize that you don't know. You can study all of the anatomy, inside and out, memorize like an idiot savant every single pages of Grey's Anatomy. And when you're done with it, you'll realize that we don't know. We don't know anything about the universe. Oh, there is black holes, there is galaxies, there is carnivorous galaxies, there is planets, Are we kidding? We think that there is billions and billions of galaxies. How much do we know about that? Of what's happening in those billions and billions and billions of galaxies. It's no different. The outer cosmos is no different than the inner cosmos. So, yeah, it's better to have knowledge and wisdom than to think that we know with information. So before I sign off, I want to acknowledge those that stayed on the call and hang in there for 2 hours. I did most of the talking, so it's easier for me than for you. So I want to acknowledge you for that. And the facilitators, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're carrying the torch. You're passing on the flame. Wade, if he's in the background, my heart goes out to you, man, for the dedication, the hard work. You guys maybe have some clue, but he has been working really, really hard to take over a lot of the administrative and business organization behind MLS. So, and he's doing a great job. So when you see him next, express your gratitude. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay. And I'm not completely out of seminars. I'm still going to do some seminars. I'm still going to do spinal biodynamic visualization, and I'm still going to go do tick-it, but it will be, fewer years. I'm not going back to what I was doing, which is pretty much gone every other weekend or every weekend on the road. That was a lot for my family, for myself, and I love doing it, but I'm in a different phase of life. Vanessa, thank you for hosting this, organizing it. Love to all of you, and remember what you want and create the self-discipline and the dedication and commitment to go for it. That's the biggest thanks that you can give any of your mentors, any of your teachers, is to become an extraordinary chiropractor. You do that, Never mind a card in the mail or a phone call. You do that. That's the biggest thanks that you can give all the people that have come before me and my generation and your teachers and mentors. Okay?